Rice Lake practice area, Beach Musketeer, Foxtrot Golf Romeo. Romeo is currently 4,000 feet, approximately 2 miles south of Gore's Landing, and we'll be conducting a forced approach, simulated forced approach to a farmer's field just on the south side of Rice Lake from 4,000 feet. Foxtrot Golf Romeo, Romeo. Hi, welcome to the channel. It's a really gorgeous September evening. It's cooling off a little bit. It's my type of weather, and just out enjoying the Musketeer. Thought this would be a great opportunity to talk about the forced approach. Obviously, engine failure in flight is something that none of us would ever want to deal with, but you know, fortune favors the prepared. So if we're well practiced and rehearsed, we're going to have a much better chance of conducting one successfully. Now, if you're well disciplined with your flying in general, by that I mean landing on a specific spot at the airport, on the runway, and not just sort of, you know, touching down somewhere on your runway, you're going to have a much better chance of successfully conducting the forced approach. You want to know what your best glide speed is, and if possible, you want to practice these a few times a year, and maybe even get out with a qualified, experienced instructor and get a little bit of assistance with them. The aim of the forced approach is to land the airplane safely, and more simply than that, to survive landing the airplane off-field. So if you can get it down on the ground and live, that's mission accomplished. There's lots of other things we can do for the forced approach to aid in search and rescue and brief passengers and stuff like that, but it's all sort of the cherry on the cake, as it were. If you get so engrossed in cockpit checks and dealing with passengers and trying to make radio calls that you lose track of where you are and what's happening, it won't matter if you can't make that landing. So it really is an important thing to keep in mind. So engine failure, first things, establish best glide. This airplane at gross weight, it's 90 miles an hour. Right now we're around the 2,000 pound mark, so it's 84 miles an hour. Pick somewhere to land, aim, and fly the airplane point. Altitude depending, you can then, once you're aiming towards your field, make your plan of how you're going to land. Then you can make a mayday call. Then you can do a cause check. You know, if you get the engine restarted, obviously the emergency's over. If the engine doesn't restart, make a mayday call, brief your passengers, secure the engine. So let's go ahead and give one a try and see how it all works out. So we're flying along in cruise here. I'll pull carb hot first, and I'll gradually bring the power back here for the simulated engine failure. Okay, so simulated engine failure, and I'm establishing my best glide speed of 84 miles an hour and trimming the nose up to maintain that. I'm going to do an engine warming every 500 feet. Okay, we're taking a look around for a field. I've got bush all out in front of me and a fair bit to the south. Got a pretty good field just off my left wingtip here. Guessing it's probably 2,500 feet long. A few bales on the outside, but the center section looks really good. All right. Upper winds definitely coming out of the south. I can feel that in the turn here. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready for my approach. So it's 1,000-foot elevation here. I'm going to do the 360 method with a planned southbound landing. So I want double my descent rate, which right now is about 700 feet a minute. So I want 1,400 feet plus 200. So that's 1,600 plus the ground elevation, that's 1,000, that's 2,600 in the direction of landing over the field. I missed my first engine warming. I'll go ahead and do that now. Okay, let's do the cause check, and then keeping a good eye on the field. So mags, both left, right cycle. If it runs on one position, leave it there. I could have a mag problem that's caused that. Been there for real and done that. Fuel pump, we'll bring that on. Carb hot, mixture rich, fuel. Maybe we need to change tanks, or if we've just changed tanks, perhaps change back. If the propeller's windmilling, go ahead if the propeller's not windmilling, you can try a restart with the starter. If it's still windmilling and it hasn't started again, you're kind of out of luck. So, mayday call. Simulated, mayday, mayday, mayday. Foxtrot Golf Romeo Romeo, Foxtrot Golf Romeo Romeo, Foxtrot Golf Romeo Romeo, conducting a forced approach due to engine failure. I'm approximately 4 miles to the southeast of Gore's Landing in a farmer's field. if you've got your lat long from a GPS, I don't have anything on right now, you could use that as well. Coming up on my next 500-foot warming, we're going to do one more after this. So I'm a little on the low side now for my field. I'm 2,500 and the field's ahead of me. I wanted 2,600. So I've got my low key off to the side there. That's what I'm going to kind of aim for. And assuming that I am still going to be descending around 700 feet a minute, I want to be over there about 1,900 feet. So I'm going to try a real shallow bank here, bring us over to that point. I'm feeling a lot of wind pushing me over, so got to be careful of that. Don't get pushed too far downwind. I'm going to have to fight a headwind coming back. So I'm going to keep this turn pretty tight, so I've got altitude to come back to the field. Okay, briefing passengers, if I had them. All right, guys, stay calm. It's an engine failure. We've practiced for this. It's just a landing, but this time on a field, not at an actual airport. Go ahead and push your seat all the way aft. Make sure it's locked, and bring your seatbelts secure. Take off any sunglasses or sharp objects. Remove them from you, okay? And once we are down, we'll exit the aircraft in an orderly fashion. First aid kit is in the back. Fire extinguishers up front here. We'll meet behind the aircraft. Secure the engine, mixture idle cut off, fuel pump off, fuel valve off, and mags off. Leave the master now. You're going to want some radio calls. All right. I'm flying my approach here, so I've 1900, looking for 16 on my final key. Here's final key, so I've made that work really nice. Now I'm just paying attention to my field. 4 miles an hour slow. I'm going to lower the nose a bit. Just coming in very shallow bank here because of the wind. Okay, it's a good long field. Definitely going to make it. Let's go first notch of flaps. Go second notch of flaps. Very happy with this approach. Very happy indeed. That's looking really sharp. And as I said, the main thing is to get a nice landing. So I'd be more than happy with that. So let's go for the overshoot. Okay, full power, car be cold, stable, reduced to first notch. Climbing nicely, I'm above 80 miles an hour, reduced to no flaps. Keep it coordinated. Alright, now if your aircraft has an ELT with a switch, you'd want to switch that on sooner rather than later. That's always a really great idea. Other aircraft are going to have a couple of neat features, or characteristics, I should say, that will need a bit of attention as well. So if this was Bonanza, for example, glide speed's 105 knots with the gear up, flaps up. We don't want to be landing at 105 knots, that's for sure. So somewhere in that approach, we got to slow down. Us, 84, landing with full flaps is 79 miles an hour. It's only a 5 mile an hour change in the glide speed. Teaching students in the Bonanza, gear down, flaps full. If you come over the threshold at 105 knots with a 10 knot headwind, you need like 1,500 feet of room just for the hold off after you flare before you touch down. That's how long it takes to get rid of the energy from 105 knots. So something to consider there. Constant speed propellers on a single engine application, they're going to use oil pressure to bring the prop to course. If the engine is still windmilling and there's oil pressure, you can pull the prop control to full course, and that will drastically reduce your drag, which will increase your glide range and everything else. So that can be a really great feature as well. I hope you found that helpful. That was definitely good practice for me, and I was very happy with how that turned out there. Get out there, get practiced. Make sure you know your emergency drills, your briefs. Make sure you know the airspeeds that you're looking for, and get these things practiced, because, again, hopefully you're never ever going to have to use it, but if you know what you're doing, the outcome is likely to be much better. So stay safe, happy tailwinds. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to check out new stuff that we've got coming, and we'd love to hear your comments and what else you'd like to see us doing with the flying. So we'll talk to you all soon.